Well, everybody, it looks like we got us a Convoy. No, we don't. They went bankrupt. And why did they go bankrupt? They went bankrupt because there are a bunch of techies that started this company that thought that they were so much smarter than everybody else in the world that they could take over one of the world's largest industries. Anyway, this company may have been run worse than the Yellow Corporation. Yep, I said it. I never thought I'd say that. This company may be worse. Yep, let's talk about Convoy. All right, everybody. I was not going to do anything about Convoy, when they went out. I really didn't do anything about Meadowlark when they went out. There was, I learned a little bit about them. It just seems like, sign of the times with that company. But Convoy, I kind of felt was going to be the same way. And then I saw some videos and I read some articles, and I was absolutely appalled. I was appalled that a company, this seems like it's totally illegal stuff that happened here, but I don't know. I mean, nobody's accusing that. It just seems like it should be illegal if it's not. Oh boy. Anyway, so Convoy started in 2015, and it was a different way to do brokering. So mostly all technology based, everything is done through an app and, websites and all electronically. And that's where I say this was a bunch of techies that started it. It was a bunch of techies that started it. And it had original investors like Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, which I thought was weird. Isn't Jeff Bezos trying to start his own transportation company and then invest in a brokerage? I don't know. But it got appalling pretty much right from the start. A lot of this came from a FreightWaves article that was, FreightWaves is always the leader as far as I'm concerned. Gives the best information. I go to a few different sites and look up all kinds of different information, but this was such an in-depth article, and the company was focused on something called Blitzscaling. So Blitzscaling, I'd never heard of before. I'm just in the trucking business, but it's a way of growing a startup that prioritizes growth over efficiency. So the goal is to grow so fast that you can take down your competition. Convoy always raised money by convincing investors that gross revenue was all that mattered. Gross revenue. Net profit does not matter at all. Gross revenue. Man, I'm pretty rich then. If gross revenue is all that matters, I'm rich. Man, I'm not even fueling this truck tomorrow because, wow, that might tap into my gross revenue. Jeez. Yeah. So they actually stated, everybody, that they should not prioritize short-term profits because that will risk their rate of growth. Yep, it will. Wow. So I actually didn't write down what their initial raise was when they did this, but in 2018 they raised more money. They raised $185 million, and they were valued at $1.08 billion. In 2019 they raised $400 million because they were valued at $2.75 billion. In 2022, they raised $410 million at $3.8 billion. Just April of 2022, so 10, and that's 18 months ago. 18 months before they went under. $3.8 billion they were valued at. But they weren't. Yeah, let's talk about what they were actually valued at last year. All right, so the last round of funding that they did 18 months ago, the company was valued at $3.8 million. And so they were able to raise 3.8 billion, they were able to raise 410 million. But that's because they were basing it only on gross revenue, because for the Blitzscaling that they were doing, the hyper growth that they were trying to do, that's the only way they could do it. Here's what their actual value was, and they still never talked about net revenue, but obviously they have to put it in there somewhere. They just talked about their margins, which were 17%. which actually shouldn't have been bad margins, apparently, for that kind of a company. But so they're at 17%. That means the net revenue was actually $136 million. And according to the experts, that means the company should have been valued at $272 to $400 million. So ironically, they actually raised more money than what the whole company was worth, multiple times over. I gotta believe something illegal happened here. I mean, you know, somebody who understands this stuff more than me, let me know. Because it has to be something illegal. I can't lie to people about how much I make and just have them give me money. You know. I mean, even if I tried, the banker or whoever was looking would probably know and be like, hey, I'm going to need to see some receipts for this or some tax returns. You're like, oh, okay. And I'll be like, wait a second, you didn't make 3.8 or whatever. Yeah, $800 million. You made $150 million. Jeez. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And on top of this, while they were doing all this, they continued adding debt from banks to continue their hypergrowth. How were the banks giving them the money? Based on what? And these were big banks, and you know, venture capital firms, and oh man, yeah. Suddenly, at the end of the last year, they realized that they had to start acting responsibly. So what happened at that point was they stopped offering these great deals that they were giving to these customers. You know, discounted rates. Well, when that happens, they started losing customers. So most of the time, they actually weren't making money anyway. They were just involved in hypergrowth. So they were losing money on these loads, which I gotta believe had to have helped with the current trucking recession. That hasn't been brought up yet. I don't know if Convoy was big enough to do that. I haven't found out how many loads that they moved in a year. But if they were actually moving them at a loss just to continue to grow, then it definitely contributed in some way. Yeah. Gross revenues dropped from $800 million in 2021 to $500 million in 2022. And that's just the gross revenues. But that's all that matters, right? Just the gross revenues. This is a direct quote, which I agree with 100%, right out of FreightWaves magazine. Convoy was the victim of two realities: a failure to control its own destiny by relying on its investors' funding, and the violence and realities of the freight market, which are outside of anyone's control. Welcome to logistics, Convoys. Yeah. So, I didn't even look into it too much more than that. I really didn't. There was all kinds of things said. When they were at their height, the techies, all their friends in San Francisco or Palo Alto or wherever these geeks all live, they were saying that this company is indestructible because their growth is so big that even if they fail, somebody's going to want to buy them. But who's going to want to buy them? They say that in the last 4 months of business, they were trying to sell themselves, and they said that they had big deals worked out with C.H. Robinson and J.B. Hunt. C.H. Robinson and J.B. Hunt are not stupid companies. Are they going to fall for that? Oh, we're valued at just our gross revenues, which is all that matters. You know, they were worth pennies on the dollars. They said both deals fell through, and then it was coming right down to a last minute, and something happened. Really, something happened because you guys probably went into meetings like typical techies, acting like you were smarter than everybody else. And, yeah, gross revenues are all that matter. C.H. Robinson, you guys have been in business all these years just because of your gross revenues. You don't pay attention to net profits. J.B. Hunt, one of the largest logistics companies in the world, just gross revenues, that's all that matters. Again, was something illegal done here? Let me know. I really want to know. I mean, we went through the Yellow thing, and I complained about Yellow and the bad management and the stupid things they did. But it doesn't seem anywhere close to this. I mean, imagine if Yellow, Now, we know Yellow took a big loan from the government that they weren't going to pay back, but imagine if they were valued at their gross revenue. And they got the government to give them money based on that. Or if they just got investors. They got Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates. Aren't these people smarter than that? Or did they really think this was going to work? Or did they actually think that the company was indestructible because it would still be worth its value at least? And it's actually worth no value. And actually it goes on to say that industry competition, obviously C.H. Robinson would be the biggest competition probably. But there's some other big guys out there, TQL. I don't like talking about TQL, but anybody who's ever dealt with TQL doesn't like talking about them. But that's a whole nother subject. But industry leaders in this hated Convoy because they knew that they were getting these valuations. It said, why are they allowed to borrow money at these valuations? And they hated them. So when they say now that they're going to get bought out, they're going to get bought out by who? Somebody else who knows nothing else about trucking? Listen, people, trucking is hard. It's a different kind of business. And I mean trucking, I mean logistics. You know, my wife works for a big company and she's a corporate manager. She's worked in almost every aspect of that business, except she still wants to move over to supply chain because it's something she doesn't know anything about, and then she could be trained by the people who do know something about it instead of maybe ever being put into there, you know. And this is just people, you could just start a company from nothing and think that because you know something about technology, you know something about trucking. Yeah, I would bet some of them people never even rode in a truck. Maybe they had a great-grandfather or grandfather who maybe one time drove a truck, but who knows? It's just disgusting for a few reasons, because I'm sure that the only people that are going to lose in this are the low-level employees. And I got to imagine they're not going to pay all their drivers that have... Now, I could be wrong. There has been no talk of that yet, but I bet they're not going to pay all the drivers for the loads that they've done. And... you know, they were all owner-operated, again, brokered, but and again, I think they might have actually hurt our whole industry here. Yeah, just there's no way that them cutting rates below what it actually costs to run the load was not hurting our industry in some way, and did not help with this current load recession that we're in. So, hey guys, I didn't do many, you know, I'm not doing any pictures. I don't think this company deserves pictures. I was going to do pictures of, you know, the CEO, the founders, who, by the way, both founders came from Amazon. I'm not even mentioning their names. It's not worth it. It's not going to do any good. They're never going to be held accountable. But if they are, I'd be glad to tell you about it. But anyway, guys, I'll just end it there. But hey, thanks for watching. As always, we'll get back to some other cool stuff here. Still working on some stuff with Smith Transportation. I got something going on with Camel, Navajo. There's a couple companies I'm working on here to do stuff about, but I just had to do this Convoy story. So well, I'm down in Jeffersonville, Ohio tonight, sitting here at the Loves. I got delivered just a couple miles from here tomorrow, and then I'll be Texas bound. So thanks for watching, guys, and like and subscribe if you liked it. And as always, I read every comment, and so feel free to comment. I'll catch you on the next one.